So, well, yeah, there's time difference. Yeah, but he plays all hours of the day, the night. I mean, I'll get up. I leave my phone in it because I leave my phone in the kitchen. And he's called at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. You know, help me think about it. Pretty much. Let the record show at 6 o'clock. We have a quorum present, so I'll call our meeting to order. Sarah, will you give the roll call, please?
Eddie Gopenauer.
Here.
Linda Barnhart.
Present.
Eric Goff.
Here.
McKinnon Morton.
Present.
Tim Lewis.
Present.
Dino Gant. Nick Beal. Derek Smith.
We do have a quorum. The next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda, which you had sent to you earlier in the week. Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Goff to approve.
Second motion.
Second by Mr. Gopenauer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. No one has signed in to speak under the open governmental process?
Not under sunshine.
Okay. Let the record show that there's no one to speak. The next item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes. Again, those were sent to you earlier in the week.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Lewis to approve the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, we now have some public hearings, a total of 6 public hearings. We're going to start with Berkeley Ridge, Section 2, Phase 2.
The first public hearing tonight is a request for final plat approval. The project is Berkeley Ridge, Section 2, Phase 2, lots 318 through 399. The file is 2202-041. The developer is Panhandle Homes of Berkeley, and the engineer is Fox & Associates. It's located in the Falling Waters District, tax map 14, parcel 26.3, and is located on the east side of the existing Berkeley Ridge subdivision, north of Spring Mills Middle School. This phase proposes 82 townhome lots on approximately 8.2 acres to be served by public water and sewer. Engineering is currently holding a grading bond in the amount of $999,756 even. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat approval contingent upon receipt of a surety in the amount of $925,614 even. Plat to be released upon receipt of that surety.
Thank you. Do we have anyone to represent the project, Berkeley Ridge?
Good evening, Steve Stianovich with Fox & Associates, representing the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Again, this is a public hearing. If you have questions or comments regarding this project, it's your opportunity to make those known. Ask you to please come forward to the microphone, state your name, address, and any comments you have regarding this project.
Seeing none, may I make a motion that public hearing be closed?
Second.
Okay, let the record show that there is no comments from the public. A motion by Mr. Gopenauer, second by Mr. Goff to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions?
I have no questions about the project, and make a motion that we accept staff recommendation for final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $925,614. And plat is to be released upon receipt of surety.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gopenauer, second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendation. That is to approve the final plat for Berkeley Ridge Section 2, Phase 2, pending $925,614 letter of credit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item for public hearing is Highview Estates Phase 3.
This public hearing is also a request for final plat approval. The project is Highview Estates Phase 3, lots 1 through 5 and 23 through 24. The file is 2112-458. The developer is J. Hess Group and the surveyor is Roberts Land Surveying. It's located in the Hedgesville District, tax map 40, parcel 28, and is located at the intersection of Thatcher and Tuscarora Pike. The developer is proposing 7 single-family lots on approximately 16 acres to be served by private well and septic. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance, therefore staff recommends final plat approval contingent upon a receipt of the surety in the amount of $290,865.60. Plat to be released upon receipt of the surety and developer's agreement.
Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening, Mike Roberts, represent the project.
Thank you. Again, this is a public hearing. If you have questions regarding this project, it's your opportunity to make those known.
Move public hearing be closed.
Second.
Let the record show that there is no comment from the public. I have the motion by Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Gokenhour to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, how about questions from you?
Mr. Roberts, the only question I have is, I think the lay of this particular land, to my recollection, is somewhat of a downslope, so they should be able to get some grading properly for the stormwater to alleviate the problems that was previously.
Well, these lots are a totally different watershed or drainage area than lots further to the north. There is a stormwater management facility as part of this application. Now, there's actually two, infiltration swale and actual pond.
Thank you.
Additional questions?
I have no additional questions, ma'am. I make a motion that we accept the final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $290,865, and the plat is to be released upon receipt of surety and developer's agreement.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendation, and that is to grant final plat approval contingent upon receipt of surety in the amount of $290,865.60. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
The next item for public hearing is Fort Evans.
This public hearing is a request for waiver. The project is Fort Evans, file 2202-055, tied to 2202-050. The developer is DR Acquisitions LLC, and the engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 10, parcel 12.3, and is located along the west side of Winchester Avenue, with access being located approximately 500 feet north of Evans Run Drive. This project proposes 32 single-family attached lots on approximately 5.3 acres to be served by public water and sewer. The developer is requesting a waiver to Section 801, Table 8-1A8 of the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance, requiring 3 parking spaces per dwelling unit, with a minimum of 1 parking space per dwelling unit being off-site. The engineering report states Appendix A of the ordinance requires a minimum 9-foot by 19-foot parallel parking space or a stall depth of 19 feet for 90-degree parking. Engineering recommends approval with the following changes. 1, the depth of driveway stacking or stall depth shall be measured from the right-of-way line, not the rear of the sidewalk. 2, the stacking length per vehicle shall be 19 feet, and the total length for 2 vehicles shall be 38 feet. 3, the width of the driveway shall be 10 feet. And 4, the driveway area shall not compose more than 50% of the front yard area. Planning staff concurs with engineering staff.
Okay, again, this is a public hearing. If you have questions or comments, please come forward, state your name, your oops, sorry, I need a representative, sorry. Glad you jumped up there.
Steve Sianovich with Fox and Associates, representing the applicant, and I would like to make a few remarks at some point before the closure of the public hearing, please.
Do you want to make them now?
I'd like to.
Okay, go ahead.
The staff report that you all have in your packets was put together by planning and engineering staff and issued last Thursday around noon hour, I believe. Friday morning, I had a scheduled stormwater management concept plan meeting on the project with engineering and planning staff. That was for the sketch plan, which you haven't seen yet. We still have to address sketch plan comments, and the reason we're here tonight is the parking waiver. The discussions that I had on Friday with staff resulted in, we had subsequent discussions today, resulted in some changes, proposed changes to the conditions that were listed in County Engineer Smith's recommendation. I'd like to take a moment and go over it with those conditions, or the changes in the conditions, and perhaps County Engineer Smith can comment on the changes to those conditions.
Okay.
The first one, we would propose that the verbiage be amended to read as follows. The depth of the driveway stacking or stall depth shall be measured from the sidewalk, from the back of the sidewalk. A minimum of 39 feet shall be provided from the back of sidewalk to the face of the garage of the townhome unit. There's no changes proposed to condition 2 or condition 3. Condition 4, we're proposing to read, the driveway area shall not compose more than 50% of the front yard area in a garage-style townhouse unit, period. Then, next sentence, the driveway area shall not compose more than 75% of the front yard area in a non-garage condition. Third sentence, which is an addition, the number of non-garage units proposed by this project shall not exceed the number of off-street parking spaces proposed by the project. I realize you haven't seen the sketch plan yet, but the sketch plan that we submitted and is currently under review, actually, quite honestly, it's back in my hands because staff had made comment. There are 12 off-street parking spaces that are provided on that sketch plan. That's all I had to mention with regard to the proposed changes to the conditions imposed by the engineering department.
Do you have those printed up that you could pass them out to the planning commission?
I don't, Linda, quite frankly. I wrote them in a messy fashion. I'd be happy to follow up with Sarah tomorrow with what I read, or we can look at the tape, or however you want to handle it.
Let me just ask county engineer, his comments. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, we looked at this waiver from a couple different angles, if you will. They are hindered on the site. There isn't the necessary room for the on-street parking that they need, or for the common parking area that they would need to supplement. One of the issues that came up here, they wanted to count the garage plus 2 spaces in the driveway, which is somewhat unusual here. And so they did push back. We were trying to get it pushed back even further. We felt a distance of 44 feet was a little bit more what we needed. In a compromise here, we did agree that the edge of the sidewalk was where we would measure the 39 feet from. A standard car, average car across the United States, average pickup truck together, full size, is about 34 feet. That difference of 5 feet gives a little bit of room for somebody to actually get something out of the trunk of their car, and it does make more sense. You know, we think this will work. You know, we asked them to limit the amount of non-garage units with the double stall parking to side by side, because basically what we felt we were ending up with was a house with a concrete front yard. There's nothing in our ordinance that prevents that. That was a number that I had researched and found across the country. A 50% number is what other jurisdictions place on that for green space. We have since talked to them. We're trying to compromise, so we let that go to 75%. However, we're limiting the number of non-garage units that would occur on to the parking that they have on the street. So that's where engineering, planning, and the applicant have came to as far as middle ground. And the rest is up to you. Once again, we felt that that was acceptable and still the parking was meant that people have a place to park when they come home. And it also keeps them out of the sidewalk.
I'm waiting for the radio to sound.
Supposed to take my pills now, I'm sorry.
You need water? You need water to take your pills with? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open this for a public hearing, but I do want you to understand that what is being asked for in a waiver this evening is the parking requirements for the dwellings. So let's go ahead and open the public hearing. If you have questions, please come forward. Again, state your name, your address, and your comments.
My name's Jim Griffin.
Pull your microphone down so the people in the back can hear.
My name's Jim Griffin,
Thank you.
and I am the president of Lakeview West Homeowners Association.
Okay,
And I understand this is just a parking variance, but we are concerned about the parking and the water runoff. And a lot of houses there are in the floodplain. And we have a sewer issue also. You know, and they're building 32
32.
townhomes there. That sewer system's already overloaded with what we have already because they piped all the sewer from the commons down through there into that pumping station there, and they can't handle it. If you live there, the stench is unbelievable about every 2 days. And then we have 9 houses that are actually in the floodplain, plus Carpet World, which I know they're building a retention pond, but I've seen how they work. And it's going to be right up against Carpet World and probably about 5 of these houses back there. And I just don't see, unless they do something with the sewer and the water runoff, because that water runs down into Evans Run, and it's going to back up. It's going to back it up past there. And we have 3 houses, I know every time it rains hard, they flood because of that. Now, Evans Run used to run all the time until they built some motocross park up across the other side of the interstate, and then it quit. But it was a nice little trickle of water running through there all the time. But now it's worse with all the water from the interstate and all of that. It runs down there and it just backs up. I mean, the water has been, I don't know if y'all are familiar with it, but those little bridges there, the water's been within probably 8 inches of going over. And with 32 townhomes and all that asphalt, that water's going to run off. What happens when the ponds, those ponds, where's that water going? It's going in these people's homes. And I just, you know, I'm not one of the houses in the floodplain, but there are a few that are. So I just want to make that aware of that. So y'all are aware of it when this gets on further. So, I mean, the more parking, that's the more asphalt, the more houses, the water, the ground won't be able to absorb it, it's going to run off. So I just want to make that aware of to y'all tonight. And
Well,
that's all.
I think those comments will be more easily
Yes, ma'am.
addressed at the design stage.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Ed, aren't you on the sewer board? Do you mind being on the sewer? Hey, no. We don't need that in here tonight. We got a lot of people that want to talk, and we appreciate your patience and understanding.
My name is John Slough. I live at 150 Evans Run Drive. That's the first crossroad on Gabriel and Evans Run, right past the two houses between the front and where my street lives. And I'm just having a problem. If they're going to put anything else in the sewer, we can't handle it. We'll have I'll get everybody in Evans Run Drive to come in here and protest because we can't handle it. It's a stinking pot right now. You put everything across the highway with no increase in the air to the sewer. They come out there and lift the manhole covers to put air behind the water. You can't put anything else in there or it's going to start flooding out the top of the line. And that's the last thing the county commission needs to do, is to put us to the point we got crap in our yards and everything. I got two houses that are being approved right across the street from mine, where the old road dig property is and the one that was sold. Both of those are in the floodplain. If you look at the floodplain, I brought it up on the internet many a time to see how far up on this one that's being built right across from my house at the corner of Gabriel and Evans Run. And it goes halfway through the lot. They're going to have to fill 10 feet in there to get a house built in there. Or if you let it go, it's going to be dangerous. It's just a situation that everybody wants to dump everything down Evans Run Drive. And you only got a 12-inch sewer there. Because when Mr. Barney built it, that's all he put in there. And now you're throwing everything across the highway with all those apartments planned right into the middle of Evans Run Drive. It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be done. You got to have somebody that's got some intelligence that's doing this planning. You just can't cram that many houses in a few acres. You know, what are you going to do? Everybody's going to be, what, they're going to stack townhouses on top of each other? From what I see, it's going to be that way. And you got to stop this development. There's more land in Berkeley County than has to be there.
Okay, I do want to tell you that our design engineer is a registered certified engineer.
I understand. I'm not an engineer.
You just called him maybe not intelligent, so that's a little.
Well, what happens is
hard to
what's
tell.
coming out of it is not the way we need to have it in Berkeley County.
Okay. Again, these comments will be addressed during the design stage. All we're looking at
Is this
evening-
design stage yet?
No, it's not.
When does that come up?
I don't know. It's up to Mr. Sianovich how far he gets along with the project. The design stage is a completely different consideration.
Okay.
And at this point, if it helps, the applicant is in contact with the sewer department, is trying to get their bill circulated, so that Berkeley County Public Sewer District will be looking at this, and if there are concerns, the applicant will hear those concerns, and we may have to make modifications in order to get the project approved.
But what's going to happen to the value of my house when I retire? And all these smell is shit. Okay? Is that okay? Or are you going to throw in the $100,000 that'll probably reduce the value of my house? Because you want a developer there. Want a development. Let them spread it out. Let them buy more land. Doesn't have to be everything go on an acre or two. Okay?
Mr. Self, this commission does not invite development to certain areas.
I understand.
We only regulate.
I understand. I've been here for 40-some years. And I came down here in 1960. Okay? And I've been around this area for almost, at this time, 40 years. 44. And I just have a problem with the development and what we're smelling right now. And if you're going to keep up the values of the properties, you're going to have to do something with the sewer.
Okay. Again, that's the sewer board that will have to make that decision. We cannot make that decision.
Remember, I was Mr. Barney's accountant.
Well, I'm very good friends with Mr. Barney, so I
Okay.
understand where you're coming from. But this commission has limitations to what we can and we cannot do.
Okay, I'm just
Okay.
telling you my opinion,
I understand.
okay?
Okay?
Thank you.
Do anybody else wish to speak?
I'd like to say something. I'm just asking a couple of questions. I
Just
don't really want
come
to
up,
say no.
come up to the microphone so people in the back can hear you, and give us your name.
My name is Barry Mills. I live at 124 Still Meadow Drive in Pikeview West, over the railroad crossing. I'm assuming that this development is going to be on the east side of the railroad tracks.
My understanding.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just got a couple questions. Maybe you can't answer them. I don't know. Maybe it'll come later. Where is the exit for this development going to be placed?
On level. Winchester Avenue.
Are you saying it's going to come off right on Route 11? Or is it going to come off on Still Meadow Drive or Evans Road?
No, nothing's on Evans Road.
Okay,
There's only a sewer tap up there.
okay. That's all. I just didn't want anything else coming out on Evans Road. We got enough problems with traffic now in Berkeley County. We build, but we don't build roads.
That's correct. The entrance, is that where the brick house is today,
It's to the
beside the
north.
railroad tracks?
It's to the north of the brick house. That's a historic.
Okay, but
That's a
before you,
stone house. He's talking about the white brick house.
right. So you got the stone house where Fort Evans is, and then you've got the brick house that sets east and west. Is that where that entrance to that subdivision is going?
Right where the railroad tracks are.
There's a 40-foot, might be an 80. There's a right-of-way on the lands of others to access this property owned by BR Acquisitions.
It's the second house past
It's in between both.
Fort Evans. Yeah.
Okay.
There's only two homes, I believe.
Yeah.
There's Carver World, there's Fort Evans Historical House, and then there was
the entrance.
Then an entrance.
then an entrance, and then the brick house is something there that with the railroad probably bought that when he brought the right of way to go through there, because that house was supposed to be demolished. So that's where you're gonna plan on coming out at. Yeah. That's all I have, really. But I appreciate you. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. You may answer some questions that are still being considered.
Just a few brief comments. Number one, we're here tonight for the waiver, as you clearly noted. We have made a submittal of the sketch plan to the Planning Commission, Planning Department. We've received comments, and we're working on addressing those comments. So there will be a sketch plan public hearing where these type of topics, in my opinion, should be discussed. Tonight's only for the waiver.
I think that's a misunderstanding whenever a public hearing sign is posted, that no one really understands what the public hearing is for. And I think once we get the sketch plat before the Planning Commission and the staff's comments, I think a lot of the comments that are being proposed this evening by the public will be answered.
Could I be given an opportunity for just another minute or two to answer some of the questions that came up? Number one, the sketch plan, as it was submitted, again, not before this board yet, but as it was submitted to the county, does not propose any access onto Evans Run Road. The access will be completely off of Route 11. So there'll be no interconnection whatsoever, pedestrian or vehicular.
And there will be traffic studies presented too.
The
DOH requested at this point. They aren't triggering anything from us to force the traffic stuff.
Okay.
Doug answered that, but it's a DOH decision. I suspect they won't require a traffic study here because of the existing center shared turn lane that exists on 11. The other point I wanted to make is this project was approved by this planning commission originally in 2005. It had a higher lot yield, not that that matters, but the design I think it was 39 lots at that time, quite honestly. That was done under the 2004 regulations, I believe. So with the introduction of the 2009 regulations and, open space requirements, we had to pare down the lot yield that was once approved at a greater number. Thank you for giving me an opportunity.
Okay. Let's continue with the public hearing. Again, if you have questions, please come forward, make those known. Sir in the back?
Good evening, people. My name is Robert Mudge, and I live in Stillmud Drive. Hello, Mr. Looking-Hour. How are you? I've lived on Stillmud Drive since 1981, and I've been to these meetings before about things had to do with Evans Run and so on. And I understand the guidelines here. We're not talking about traffic considerations right at the moment or stormwater management, so I'm going to stick, by your all's rules out of respect. I just want to know when that phase does come up, will there be another notice that there will be a public meeting that address the stormwater management and also the traffic concerns?
Yes, there will.
Okay. And would that consist of another sign being placed where the sign is right now for this meeting?
I don't know exactly where the
what?
sign
It's
is.
somewhere in the vicinity. Otherwise, it still will be. Yeah, it'll still be a public record one way or the other. That
Exactly.
You can, by going online, you can look at
Yes.
county commission business, stuff like that to find out. Okay. Well, there will need to be a little bit of discussion about the traffic, but I think you've already answered one thing because a lot of people were concerned about the entrance and the exit being onto Evans Run Drive right behind Carpet World, and that would create somewhat of a traffic problem there. And although a lot of people don't think Route 11's traveled very much, since I've lived out there since '81, I can tell you there's a lot of traffic on Route 11, as you all well know. And anyway, when it comes to stormwater management, I think that will have to be addressed. I'm sure that it will be drained properly, let's say to the north of Evans Run, but Evans Run Creek right there could not possibly handle all this flow or anything because it's about this wide. It's more narrow than Tuscarora Creek is out for the ordinary and stuff. Anyway, so anyway, just as long as we have a few more public meetings on that stuff, that would be decent. Now, my other question is, since we're addressing parking concerns like that, and now I guess I would be speaking for maybe some of the people who would buy the townhouses or whatever. Was there a regulation one time when you built a townhouse resident or a single family home, maybe in a development that was more or less like a parking lot area? Wasn't there supposed to be 2 parking spaces per residence?
I don't know what set of regulations you're talking
Something-
about.
Single families require 2, townhomes or villas require 2 on site and 1 off site. So whether that be a parallel parking space or a parking lot, that's
And-
how it would be
Okay,
addressed.
and I might miss this, but did someone more or less say that they were kind of like going to limit that down maybe to 1 now, or did I miss? I heard, okay, all right. Because I thought if you have if you're going to build buy a townhouse or a single family home, and you have a wife or a significant other, both are probably employed, and they probably have 2 vehicles per household. And so I was just thinking that, talking for the people who have to live there, they wouldn't need 2 spaces. Okay, so all my concerns will have to be addressed in another meeting because I'm going to go by your rules and stick to
Thank you.
the rules here that we're just talking about parking spaces at
Thank
the
you.
time. And so I thank you for your time and your consideration.
It's more efficient whenever you handle the matter that is at hand, and I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, additional questions or comments regarding this project?
Larry Wolf, I live on Dexter Drive back here in Pikeview. when we go to the sketch plan phase of the hearing, is that stuff made available so we can have it when we come to hearing, so we can be more educated when we show up? So
Actually, it will be uploaded by our
where is that at?
to the county's website. And I'm sure planning department will give you.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to, because I tried to get on there to find some information, and well, no offense, the website's there.
All the information you submit is available.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Why don't
What's your
you,
email address?
yeah, give us your email.
Write it
I'll
down.
get
You can write it down.
I'll give you that. Speed this up. You get this.
If you wanna just call,
Here, I'll just give you.
the number that's on the sign,
Okay.
I can direct.
Now, is there a
anyone.
cost for us to get anything like that? Or is that?
To print it, yeah, but
I thought it was online.
we don't
Yeah, it's
keep
online.
paper anymore.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, additional questions or comments regarding this project?
If not, the number of public hearing be closed.
Okay, let the record show that there's no additional comments. I have a motion by Mr. Goff to close public hearing.
Second.
Second, by Mr. Lewis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed on the parking requirements. Okay, planning commission members, do you have questions?
See, I want to go back to your comments when you were talking about, you'd had a conversation with the planning commission, and you talked about the sidewalk, and there was, they're asking for 38, and your math was still 36, so it wasn't an improvement on number one, it was just looking at number one a little different.
No, actually what it was, I originally proposed 36 feet from the back of the sidewalk to the face of the dwelling. In my mind, that gave us two 18-foot cars nose to tip. After staff reviewed it, they made this comment. Keep in mind that my waiver request that cited the 36-foot dimension preceded staff reviewing the application and writing the conditions. So I did meet with staff again last Friday, and as I use the word compromise, they felt that a 39-foot dimension between the back of the sidewalk and the front of the garage would be adequate to satisfy their concerns. The concerns being no part of the vehicle hanging out into the sidewalk that would impede free use and enjoyment of the sidewalk.
I guess to give some background on that, to accomplish that, they did have an oversized roadway section that was, the pavement width was wider than what we typically have in our standards, which that's certainly up to them to do. However, they have shrunk that back down to gain that extra footage, and it slid the group of houses back a little bit. So that's where the 39 feet versus 36 feet basically came from.
So you are okay with that compromise,
Yes, sir.
staff?
I'm okay with it, if you're okay with it.
And 2 and 3 you had no issues with.
That's correct, Mr. Lewis. I had no issues.
Okay, so number 4, explain that again to me.
Number 4. And I made terrible notes. But yeah.
That's the 50 to 75. You guys are okay 75?
Well,
That's still-
there's caveats on that. May I read what we're proposing to be the condition? The driveway area shall not compose more than 50% of the front yard area in a garage-style townhouse condition. To break that down, we would have a single-width driveway, 10 feet in width, no less than 39 feet long, and there would be a garage in the townhouse. So that gives us our 3 parking spaces that are required per dwelling unit. The sentence that we're proposing to add, the driveway shall not compose more than 75% of the front yard area in a non-garage townhouse configuration, meaning no garage in the townhouse. So the 75% would come up with would be based on a 39-foot deep parking space where you'd have 2 cars nose to tail. Then there would be a 19 or so foot parking space adjacent to that where the 3rd car would be placed, and the remainder of that acreage from the shorter stall, if you will, to the dwelling would be the green space. That's how we got the 75% rule versus, or the 75% value. And then lastly, the other component of the condition that we would suggest to be added, that the number of non-garage units in the community shall not exceed the number of off-street parking spaces proposed within the community. Again, based on our sketch plan, that value is 12. So in a nutshell, we have 32 units on the sketch plan, and I'm saying not more than 12 of those could be non-garage units based on the modifications to the conditions that we're proposing. So the remaining 20 or more would be garage units and have the configuration of the single width driveway, no less than 39 feet long from the back of sidewalk to the front of the garage door.
How accurate is this that you gave us, or someone gave us? This was in a packet.
That was a document that we prepared at the time I made the initial waiver submittal.
So this is not accurate then in accordance to the conversations that we've had this evening? Okay.
So the green space would basically be about 4 feet wide.
No, the garage units, or excuse me, the townhouse lots, interiors are 20 feet in width. So
20 feet.
20 feet.
So maybe 5 foot wide.
No, it'd be wider than that. If you-
75%?
Effectively be 10 feet. If you envision the front yard area as a rectangle, under one scenario, we're kind of cutting it in half on the up-down axis, 50% impervious, 50% green, in a garage condition. In a non-garage condition, we're kind of cutting that in quarters, and 25% would be green and 75% would be impervious
So
to accommodate
The
parking.
green space would be up against the townhouse, back to the 3rd or 1st parking spot.
Correct.
So it'd just be postage.
It would be, generally speaking, it would be roughly half of 39 feet times 10 feet, if that makes sense.
And just to clarify, they can't exceed for the overall site, the impervious coverage can't exceed 60% anyway, so they would still hold to that number for the overall site.
With the stormwater management areas and the open space that's proposed, we don't expect to be anywhere near that 60% coverage value, even with these, the potential, and I put emphasis on the word potential, for the 12 non-garage units. Depending on how the market goes, they may build all driveways here, so with that 75% would never enter into the waiver. But the developer did want the flexibility in the event they build, for example, their Madison product, which is a walk-up townhouse and not necessarily a garage unit.
Do you have any statistics on non-garage units opposed to garage units?
It's really market-driven, to be honest, and
And you don't know those statistics?
I don't, because each community is different. You know, if you look at Whispering Pines or Macaulay Crossing, the percentage of garage and non-garage could be different between those communities just because of the areas that they're serving.
Do you know what they are?
I'm afraid I don't, but I could find that out with research. But I know that we have done walk-ups, meaning non-garage units, in both of those communities. And that exhibit that you shared earlier, Linda, that was included in the package, that exhibit was the same one used in the parking waivers obtained for both of the Macaulay Crossing and the Whispering Pines communities.
Good to know. Additional questions, comments?
My only comment is I am not comfortable with item 4 and this particular layout. Just John Vince, I am not. I'm just visualizing the subdivision when you pull into it. It's going to look like a parking lot, and I think we can do better. I would like to see either additional space allowed for that third car off-site. I don't particularly care for that. I just don't.
Would all garage units, where we would have,
I don't want to dictate, what you market or what your owners market at, but I just think that this is just, high density housing is one thing, but high density parking is something else. I see. I don't like that. I just don't.
may I ask a question?
Sure.
Just so I understand your position. So number 4, if it read exactly the way it does in the staff report, are you accepting of that? Or does my proposed changes cause the concern?
I think what he's asking is, if you read it as I wrote it in the staff report, it basically limits them to a single 10-foot wide driveway, 39 feet deep, that parks 3 cars, and you still have half the yard of grass.
That sounds to me like it'd be more acceptable.
So that, just to be clear, that then, I heard what you said earlier, but that dictates the unit has to be a garage unit
Yes.
to get the third parking stall, or parking spot.
Then so be it.
I just wanted to be clear.
Or you'd have to
Then
park
so
on
be
the
it.
street or in a car line.
Yeah, I could just, and I'm not an engineer. I'm not, and you want to get down into the regs, into the weeds. I may not be the guy to sit here and go back and forth with you, but what I can visualize is pulling into this high density homes and seeing basically nothing but cars.
May I ask another question?
Sure.
With the 12 off-street parking spaces that we're providing by the sketch plan, again, same sketch plan you haven't seen yet, would consideration be given to allowing non-garage units, knowing that we would have 2 parking spaces in the non-garage condition physically on site, and the 12 off-street spaces would actually be the third parking space for those non-garage unit configurations, with the other units in the community having the ability to park 3 cars, 1 in the garage and 2 in the driveway. So that, if the commission would be agreeable to that, that effectively allows for 12, no greater than 12, non-garage units to be built in the community. We aren't here asking for relief from the 3 spaces per unit rule, or per lot rule. We're asking relief for the requiring 1 space being off-site. But I know others may have felt, or the public may have felt, we were seeking relief from that 3 parking space per lot rule. We aren't. Everything we propose and are proposing by this waiver would result in 3 parking spaces being provided per dwelling unit.
Well, you can mix this and match it however you wish. I'm just telling you my position.
I understand.
The 3 cars on the 1 lot, not having a garage, I think it's just not a good environment.
Understood. Thank you.
Excuse me.
I'm willing to make a motion to table this until they come back with what Doug and them
I
shared.
think that's probably the best thing. Let's table it. We'll work it out and we'll bring you back.
Are you looking to just see some exhibits or?
Yeah, I want to see it. You know, it's hard. I'm like Eddie. I don't want to see a bunch of asphalt and cars. I want to see grass. I want to see some common stuff like that, and then address the off street. If that's what it's going to be for a non-garage unit, you've got these spaces over there. But put it on paper so I can see.
Understood.
So I make a motion that we table this until later.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Gokenhour to table the request for the parking requirements until the next meeting. Can you get it torn out between them?
I believe so.
Until our next planning commission meeting, which is April 14th.
That's
Fourth.
Fourth. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, the project for the parking requirement has been tabled until the April 4th meeting, at which time we'll see a better layout and hopefully a better understanding. And then again, you folks that are here regarding the project and the stormwater and the sewer, that will be back in front of you at a public hearing, but you'll have to watch to see whenever they get everything ironed out for this, plus the sketch plan, okay? And I thank you for your patience this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, the next project for public hearing is J. Douglas Bear.
This is also a public hearing for a request for waiver. The project is J. Douglas Bear, file 2202-060, tied to 2202-054. The developer is J. Douglas Bear, and the surveyor is Chuck Sager. It's located in the Arden District, tax map 10, parcel 112.1, and is located on Barron Drive, approximately 500 feet east of Winchester Avenue. The developer is proposing the subdivision of an existing 15.11 acre parcel, creating 3 outsale parcels and 1 residue parcel. Lot 1 is proposing a new 0.49 acre parcel. Lot 2 is proposing a new 0.39 acre parcel. Lot 3 is proposing a new 3.23 acre parcel with existing residential structure.
Laura, hold on till they get. Anthony, you want to shut that door?
You want me to read it over?
Yeah. Sorry.
You're fine. I didn't know if anybody could hear me or not.
Yeah, I don't think
I
they
was
could.
just trying to
Maybe.
talk loud.
Pull the microphone down. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Let's start over.
I'll start over with the project description. So the developer is proposing the subdivision of an existing 15.11 acre parcel, creating 3 outsale parcels and 1 residue parcel. Lot 1 is proposing a new 0.49 acre parcel. Lot 2 is proposing a new 0.39 acre parcel. Lot 3 is proposing a new 3.23 acre parcel with existing residential structure and a 10.73 acre residue parcel. Lots 1 and 2 will be served by public water and sewer, and Lot 3 is currently served by public utilities for the existing residents. The developer is requesting a waiver to section 305.4.1 of the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance, requiring a 2 acre minimum lot size and WVDOH road frontage to proceed through the preliminary final process. Engineering and planning staff recommends denial of the waivers to section 305.4.1 as the following reasons listed below requires the developer to follow the sketch plan, preliminary plan, and final plat process. Number 1, Lot 2 requires a mainline extension for public water service, and Lots 1 and 2 requires a pump station for public sewer service. Number 2, it does not meet any of the 3 requirements of the preliminary and final plat, being the minimum acreage of 2 acres for proposed lots, frontage on a West Virginia Department of Highways road, and no improvements, which would be the mainline extensions and pavement exceeding 5,000 square feet. Number 3, the existing and proposed impervious area will be greater than 5,000 square feet, which triggers the need for stormwater management. And number 4, the existing access is from a private HOA maintained right-of-way, which intersects with Winchester Avenue.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Do we have a representative for the project?
Doug Bear, I'm the developer of South Lawn Estates originally, and I currently still have 14 acres there. I reserved, when I did that subdivision, my house actually sits on 4.5 acres of that property. I reserved 2 right-of-ways into my property off of Barron Drive. I posted a public hearing like I was required to. I sent an email to all the homeowners telling them what I was doing, that I was willing to pay the $500 road maintenance. We just paved the street last year. And that I would join the HOA, they would pay the $200 a year HOA dues. I reserved the rights to South Lawn Estates to add additional lots to it. And my health and stuff right now, I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's. It's hard to keep up with 14 acres of ground. I want to sell off the 2 lots, put my residence on a smaller lot, and the balance of the acreage can be subdivided, but the bulk of it is being used by Kensington Terrace for stormwater management. I have a maintenance agreement with them for that project. So I request a waiver to have the 2 out sales. And, you know, as far as the each of the lots, I don't know where they're coming with the main line extension for the sewer. One lot's got sewer on the front of it, and the other lot has the back of it from Summer Hill, which the right-of-way, sewer right-of-way borders that this property I'm talking about. And I realize that maybe you might have a, you know, their new ordinance where you have to have your water meter on the existing lot. Yeah, there might be a storm water extension, but that won't be done until the lots are sold. That would be one of the requirements. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. If you have questions or comments, please come forward. Give us your name, your address, and any questions you might have.
Hi, I'm Jackie Columbia, and I'm a property owner at South Lawn Estates subdivision, the HOA that was mentioned previously. I and a number of our members are here this evening. We are not in favor of this variance being granted. We did not, the HOA did not give approval for the subdivision of these lots. We're terribly concerned that if one of our members can subdivide their property, what's to keep everyone from being able to subdivide their property? We're concerned about the additional traffic on our roads, you know, the increased population that will be traveling. And if this subdivision is granted, then what's to keep the next one with 3 more lots or 5 more lots the next time? So that is what we're concerned about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Steve Brock, and I'm a property owner with my wife at 71 Malibu Court. We've been owners since 1991. We have a great development. We originally had 18 homeowners, and Mr. Bear, back in the early 90s, signed over the easement to us, the Homeowners Association, South Lawn Estates. Back in 2020, Mr. Bear decided he wanted to become part of us again, where he tried to form a board of directors of 3 people, where he was going to be one himself. He tried to persuade my wife to be a second director, and he was going to pick another himself, not by vote, who was going to be the other director and make all decisions where we didn't even have a voice in our development. Well, basically, many of us knew there was a hidden agenda here because from the early 90s to say 2020, Mr. Baer never participated. And I think I'm telling the truth here. I don't have the books in front of me. He never paid any road fees, but he knew with his hidden agenda that he wanted to sell additional lots on the backs of the homeowners. And fall of 2020, we were forced to pay $500, a special assessment, each of us homeowners, and we were told we had to pay it by law. I paid, my wife and I paid, others didn't pay, but I found out later that was illegal. We paved our roads, spent $23,000 to make it look good, just for the purpose of Doug Baer to sell additional lots. My concern is building on your number 4 for denial, that right-of-way would be damaged after we spent $23,000 with the heavy equipment. I want you to consider now, cement trucks, the heavy trucks bringing in the building supplies. He had a hidden agenda, and he's using us. And there's many of us here in the back as homeowners. We're totally against the waiver. I like Mr. Baer, but this is not the way to do business. This is not professional. And you think of all the years where the rest of us paid our fees. He wasn't even a member. Then he comes in and says, I'll pay a road fee. And the last meeting that I attended in late spring, one of the members that lives in our development brought up some of these major points that you guys based the denial on. And Mr. Baer got out of control and even tried to fight him. And it was terrible. And we're at a point now, it was destroyed, our homeowners association, because of Mr. Baer and his business venture here. And that is not fair to us homeowners that have lived here a long time. And I have wonderful neighbors. I also have a couple other neighbors that couldn't make it tonight, and they're totally against this. And I don't think it's fair to our homeowners association. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, additional questions, comments?
Yes. Good evening. I'm Lori Copenhaver. My husband Brian and I live at 54 Malibu Court. In the early 90s, my husband was the president of the Homeowners Association. Doug Baer got into a verbal altercation with my husband. He's not easy to deal with. We never received an email about this new venture that he's trying to do. He's constantly meddling in our Homeowners Association. His property is not on our plat. I don't understand how he keeps being able to tell us what to do or wants to come in on our roads. The roads weren't handed over in good condition to begin with, and we're patching them constantly. So I'm sorry, but I'm leery anytime I have to deal with this man. And I'm with my fellow homeowners, bringing in all that equipment and everything that he wants to do is just going to cause a mess. We're right up the road from Evans Run. We have flooding too, and they put the culvert in. But and further up the road, they're putting all those big things in where the Stewart Farm and everything used to be. So it's a huge concern around there. I understand he has issues. He's getting older. He needs to take care of things, but not on the backs of us. We have things we need to do too. Thank you.
Additional questions from the public?
In response to some of the statements made there, the confrontation between me at a homeowners meeting, first, let me say that the HOA lost its charter. They wouldn't renew the state license, state charter, or anything. At that point in time, 15 years ago, I had Tom Cronin at my expense to do an engineering on the roads up there, what was causing the failure. Most of the failure on Malibu Court was done when the homeowners had their homes built. They cut the street for underground electric service. And, that's where roads start getting water in them. The ditches along Malibu Court, homeowners filled them in.
And this confrontation at a meeting that they're speaking about is when a non-member comes to a meeting and I'm sitting there trying to reorganize the HOA and go over the restrictive covenants and try to get them to abide by them instead of just doing what they want to do. This man stood up and said, Doug Bear, I know a lot of people and nobody's got nothing good to say about you. I took it. You can ask anybody there. I took it for about a half hour, and finally I had enough. And yes, I would have knocked his teeth out of his mouth if he said any more. That's just how I feel. As far as not paying any dues, how can you pay into something that doesn't have an HOA? Malibu Court has had probably $30,000 of the HOA money spent to do patchwork. We had a cost last year to pave the street. A motion was sent out to every property owner in there. Do they want to pave it? Yes or no? How do you want to pay? You want to pay the $500 or you want to pay? We got them back. The majority ruled that it would be paved. And what are you supposed to do when you don't have an active HOA that you can't even get members to attend? Under the bylaws, we are authorized a board of directors. We sent notices out. I had people that wanted to be on the board of directors. We wanted a woman on the thing, so we sent a notice out to that effect. No response. So we appointed the board of directors, like you need to do under your state charter. All corporations have a board of directors, and this is what they don't understand.
Okay, well,
And the board of directors operates when a HOA doesn't.
Okay, what we're really considering this evening, rather than the litigation
I
that
agree.
could possibly go
I agree.
on, is the fact that you are asking for a process which would be a preliminary final plat in the same stage. So I think that's what we really need to be focusing on this evening, rather than the personalities that are at.
Yeah, well, I think that's what, when I went down and asked for this is what I was told how to go about it. I mean,
Okay, do we have any other comments from the public? If not, I think we could probably close the public hearing. This is your opportunity to make any comments regarding the waiver that's being requested this evening for the preliminary final plat. Okay, no further question. Oops, wait a minute. Sir, you want to come up to the front, please?
Good evening. My name is Bernard Fennell. I live on Barron Drive. I've been out there for about 5 or 6 years, so I'm a little lost. Do they have a homeowners association or not? I'm stuck here. Now I know back in 2015 when I was building, I was told that there was homeowners dues when I purchased my property without being under homeowners association. And I know since then I've been getting letters and stuff, requiring me to pay homeowners fees. And I recently got a $500 request for road maintenance from Mr. Bear, and I think the total up like $1,300. And what I think needs to happen, you have neighbors pitting against each other. I don't know if you have homeowners association or not. And me personally, when I know what my legal paperwork says, I don't want to be strong-armed to pay any homeowners dues because I'm not required to. Now, I even wanted to make a little donation because I live in a neighborhood, but you have too much distractions going on. And I'm just listening to the different neighbors, speak about this stuff. And what we need to get, what you guys need to get to do is have a cohesive unit that's there, because there seems to be no transparency to me. That's all I just need to say.
Thank you very much.
in response to his comments about the HOA, any notices sent out weren't sent by me, they were sent by the secretary of the HOA. As far as Mr. Fennell, he is exempt from the HOA. He borders on Barron Drive, but that property that he owns, as for the Calvin DeHaven's and Sense Divers Garage, those properties had the right to use the original right-of-way that went in there. So he is exempt. Donnie Cave's old house is exempt. They don't have to pay dues. Now, I think our Secretary of Treasurer sent out, where they think they ought to contribute for the snow removal and upkeep and stuff like that. But, if they don't pay it, that's not, I don't have nothing to do with that.
Okay, again, we'll get back to the project that's at hand, which is the waiver for the preliminary final plat process. If there's no further public comment,
I move to close public hearing.
have a motion from Mr. Goff to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lewis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of the staff or of Mr. Bear regarding what is in front of us tonight?
I make a motion, we accept staff recommendation and deny the waivers of section 305.4.1 as reasons following listed below requires the developer to follow their sketch plan, preliminary plan, and final plat process.
Second by Mr. Goff. Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Goff to accept staff recommendation, and that is to require the project to go through the Planning Commission process with the preliminary and final plat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Yeah, so one thing. We submitted a sketch plan, I submitted a sketch plan.
It was a preliminary final. Your surveyor submitted a preliminary final plan. He didn't submit a sketch. He submitted a preliminary final and it was for, I think, 3 lines and I read it. And I sent comments and the way that came in with that. So you want to talk to him.
Mr. Bear, you may want to get in touch with Mr. Sager regarding what he actually submitted and what you think he submitted.
Linda, I want to make a comment about something. She's aware of it. Down on my farm, and you're aware of what I went through on that farm. I had a lot owner down there that decided that he wanted to clean out my pond for the topsoil, which I let him do. Then it comes along that he comes before the Planning Commission and he wants half of my lot. So they call the attorney, call a meeting, and guess what? They decided that all the lot owners that bordered me down there had to sign off on my plat. Am I right?
Are we discussing snowmaker?
Yeah.
That's a different.
No, I'm just saying. One don't know what the other one's doing. I've been developing in this county since 1972.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you what, this planning commission has gone to hell and back.
Okay.
You've got to get people that have qualified and have the credentials to be reviewers, planning directors, and all that. Half of them don't have it.
Do you want to visit the office and see the credentials on the wall?
Yeah, I like to see it for all of them.
Okay. Maybe you can come in tomorrow or something and take a look.
Yeah, I would like to see it.
Okay, thank you. The next project for public hearing is Eagle School Road Mini Storage.
Good evening. We have a request for a sketch plan advancement The project is Eagle School Road Mini Storage, file number 2111-429. The developer is Rental Properties Incorporated. The engineer is Fox and Associates. It's located in the Opequon District, map 10, parcel 15.3. This site is located on the east side of Eagle School Road, approximately 600 feet north of the intersection of Veronica Drive. The developer is proposing a self-storage facility on 3.57 acres. No water or sewer utilities are proposed for this site. Excuse me. No waivers or exceptions have been requested. On March 2nd, 2022, the county engineer, Doug Smith, issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was complete and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The sketch plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends advancement of the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone to represent Eagle School?
Steve Sianovich, representing the applicant.
You're a brave man, Mr. Seaman.
Thank you.
Okay. This is a public hearing. If you have questions or comments regarding this project, please come forward, state your name, and any comments that you might have regarding this project.
Move public hearing be closed.
Second.
Okay, let the record show that there is no public comment. I have a motion by Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Gokenhour to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the public hearing is now closed for Eagle School mini storage. Planning Commission members, do you have questions?
Hearing none, ma'am, I make a motion that we accept staff recommendation, advancement to a sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Goff, to accept staff recommendation, that is to send the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Have a good evening.
thank you. I don't know if you want to go out in that hallway right now. Okay, the last public hearing is the Lakes of Martinsburg Phase 3 and 4.
Yes, this is, excuse me, a request for a sketch plan advancement. The project is the Lakes at Martinsburg Phases 3 and 4. The file number is 2112-459. The developer is Banbury Holdings LLC. The engineer is Integrity Federal Services Incorporated, located in the Opequon District, map 2, parcel 35. This site is located off Weaver Lane, approximately 0.8 miles from Williamsport Pike. Phases 3 and 4 propose 122 single-family detached lots on approximately 53 acres to be served by public water and sewer. No waivers or exceptions have been requested. On February 18, 2022, County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter of approval stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was complete and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County subdivision ordinance. The sketch plan meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends advancement of the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Do we have anyone to represent the project?
Good evening. Chad Wallen, Integrity Federal Services. On behalf of the applicant.
How long did it take you to remember to say integrity?
I'm still learning.
Oh.
And it's long.
Maybe we'll get some initials or something.
IFS.
Yeah. Okay, this is a public hearing. If you have questions regarding the Lakes project, please come forward, state your name, and any comments you might have.
Move public hearing be closed.
Wait a minute, I think I see movement.
Yep.
You gotta be quick in here tonight.
I'm a little slow.
That's okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chester Farmer. I'm newly moved into the area.
What's your name again?
Chester Farmer.
Okay.
I'm newly moved into the area from Gainesville, Virginia. Spent a lot of years up here when I was younger in West Virginia, so I really love this area. In the Lakes in Martinsburg, it's a new development. Like I said, I just moved in December. And I've heard a lot of comments today about, access, lottage, configuration, all those type of things. So, I'm here really to learn about this process. Lakes at Martinsburg has a lot of space to be done. I think my main concern is access to the area, in and out, roadway traffic, because it's growing, so the traffic's gonna get real bad coming in off Weaver, off 11. It's already, bad enough as it is, but it's gonna get worse with the new developments coming in there. Notwithstanding the subject about, sewage and all that kind of thing. So whatever control you guys have over what's going on, I think what I'm saying is the people who have to live in the area can best say what's needed and what's not needed in the area. As it is, I'm in a circle. So already I'm seeing that the way they're developing the houses, it's going to be a little bit crowded there so far as access and regress from your property. So I'm not going to get long-winded on this subject. So, just a thought process I came up with while I was sitting in this area and it's transpired. And that's pretty much what I would say at this point in time. I guess there'll be another meeting for the lakes at Martinsburg.
Yes, this is a sketch plan public hearing. There will be another public hearing at final plat stage.
Yes, there'll be another public hearing to create the lots, but there will be another meeting to approve the overall plan. It's just not a public hearing. But you can go online and set up an account to where you would get notified automatically for any meetings. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you are here giving some very good comments, okay? You want to be educated how the process is being done. And you can do that by going onto the county's website if you have access to it. If you don't, you can come in and any of the ladies will be happy to, and the county engineer will be happy to go over the process for you.
So they say. I definitely want to talk with you. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. And additional comments from the public? Okay. Now I have a motion by Mr. Goff to close public hearing.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lewis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the public hearing is now closed. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of the applicant or of the staff?
There are no questions. I make a motion that we accept staff recommendations and advance the sketch plan to the preliminary plans. Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Goff, to accept the staff recommendation, and that is to advance the sketch plan to the preliminary plan stage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passed. Okay, that concludes our public hearings for tonight. The next project on the agenda is request for final determination for Winmar Estates.
Yes, this is a request for final plat determination. The project is Winmar Estates Section 1, Phase 1, Lots 1 through 11, and 82 through 87. The file number is 2112-443. The developer is Winmar Estates LLC. The engineer is Integrity Federal Services. It's located in the Mill Creek District, map 9, parcel 47.9, and map 13, parcels 100, 101, and 102. This site is located on the west side of Winchester Avenue, a quarter mile south of Runnymede Road. This final plat proposes 17 townhome lots on 3.2 acres to be served by public water and sewer. At the December 31st, 2018 Planning Commission meeting, the applicant was granted approval to submit plans designed under the 2004 Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance while complying with the 2016 Stormwater Management Ordinance. At the March 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, the applicant was granted an extension of the approved administrative plan change to allow time for the NPDES permit to be obtained. County Engineer Doug Smith issued a letter on March 2nd, 2022 stating that a review of the above-mentioned project was complete and found to be in compliance with the Berkeley County Subdivision Ordinance. The final plat meets the requirements of the subdivision ordinance. Therefore, staff recommends final plat determination and advertising of a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval at the April 18th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Wallen, are you going to be at it again? Okay.
Chad Wallen with integrity on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Let's shorten it up a little
Let's
bit.
shorten it up a little bit.
Okay. Planning Commission members, do you have questions of Mr. Wallen of the staff?
Let's have one. So running across this property is a swale, and I believe it starts at Greenwich and goes off maybe a little bit to the north direction towards the railroad tracks. And that's to remove water that ponds on the other side of the road. It goes under the road through that swale out to the railroad tracks. Is this being built over that?
That swell is being rerouted.
It's gonna be rerouted.
So hopefully a little bit wider, maybe
Yeah.
a little bit deeper.
Yeah, there's some stormwater.
Yes,
Man,
there are.
in there too.
Yeah. I think I don't know if it's on the east side of the track or the west side of the track, there's a drainage ditch that runs that, and that's where that water's supposed to go, and it gets it on down to the spring or whatever they call that now. The old Fever Spring down on Runnymede Road. That's where the water's supposed to go.
Yeah, we gotta redirect it.
Redirect it. It's good. I live right out there, so I'm not
Well,
enthused
actually,
about all these townhouses coming out there, but it's good to see that somebody's going to build something and some dirt's going to move. We've been talking about this for a long time.
Well, hopefully.
I've been part of it.
Hopefully that will improve that flooding condition through there.
Yeah.
Because what is there's been failing for years.
For years, yeah.
Well, people are tilling it and farming.
Yes,
So
exactly.
there's not a clean grass swell.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's rough dirt, it's corn, so that slows it.
Yeah.
And that statue doesn't help any, does it? It's moved. It's moved.
Somebody
Did
hit
it
it with a
move
car.
Car knocked it down. Truck knocked it down. Oh, really?
It's over across from the antique mall now.
Really? Yeah. Well, good to know. Guess you're not, don't go down Route 11 very often. Okay, if there's no further questions, can I have a motion?
Yes, ma'am. I make a motion that we accept the staff recommendation for final plat determination to advertise for a public hearing for consideration of final plat approval on the April 18th, 2022 Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Gokenhour, second by Mr. Lewis, to accept staff recommendation, and that is to determine a final plat at the April 18, 22 Planning Commission meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the last item on the agenda is staff council discussion action motion. We'll start shortening that up a little bit too. What would you just put acronym for
I
us?
sent y'all an email out earlier in the week. And in accordance with the ordinance, we have reviewed the traffic impact study that was prepared for DOH for Patrick Jackson, which is 831 single-family lots located west of Files Crossroad on Shepherdstown Pike, DOH 45. We went through there. I've reviewed the traffic study. In accordance with the ordinance, it does make provisions for the county engineer to make recommendations to DOH for their consideration and their final issuance of the entrance permit and whatever conditions they may approve for it, whether it be lane widening, turn lane signalization, whatever. The comments that I sent you out to review and the associated map there to help guide you. Basically, just to give you a real quick background, the project is proposing a one entrance that will enter onto Shepherdstown Pike, approximately 6 to 7/10 of a mile west of Files Crossroad. They'll also have a second entrance through Fieldstone subdivision, which that street is known as LaSalle, that intersects with Files Crossroad. That is a private street owned by the HOA for Fieldstone, so the development will be to obtain that approval from them to access that street. During the sketch plan, we did request comments back from, it did not show any improvements for LaSalle other than the use of it. So we did ask the developer what improvements they proposed, the ADT, so on and so forth. That obviously that single section is not going to be adequate even if you split the 831 homes and say half go here and half go to the other entrance. With that being said, the DOH traffic study that was prepared by the applicant, it did recommend a full build out that definitely a signalization would more than likely be required at Files Crossroad at 45 and more than likely at the site entrance, Site Road A, and 45 as well. They suggested that there be traffic studies along the way at a 250 lot interval. In my conversation with DOH, we questioned whether or not they would bond that to make sure that happens. They said that they would probably do that. So in our comments, what we're suggesting is to hold that 250 lot interval, which planning and engineering would look at the final plats as they come in, count the lots, and every 250 lots they would have to go out and do that study and make sure that the homes that are built, the first 250 didn't trigger those warrants or trigger other warrants that may be required at Site A, LaSalle, and Files Crossroad, and 45. So, also, they did recommend the left turn lanes and dedicated right turn lanes, which I had that on there, and we repeated that back. Let's see. A couple other comments we had, which we questioned the distribution between the site road access A and what cars would use Files Crossroad. And looking at it, if you looked at it on a, say, a Saturday, if you will, you may have more people generating traffic going out the back door because they would want to go to Files Crossroad to take Golf Course Road to come up into the south side of town, which is really where most of the major shopping is. So you would see that road is getting probably a little bit more, LaSalle in itself, being a little bit more in demand than actually Site Road A, which is your main entrance out of it. So we were questioning some of the distributions there, and we asked for more narrative in the report.
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Are you saying A being number one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Is that where the proposed construction will begin?
Yes.
At that particular site?
Yeah, they'll come in there at entrance one, and they're proposing the first bit of houses as you come down that flagstone to where you see I have Patrick Jackson Development, 831 units. Basically, that first area right there as that funnel opens up is where their first phase is going to be done.
So
How many lots are in the first phase? Do you know?
150.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I'm sorry, but 100. It was roughly 150 homes. So they do need that extra entrance the minute they come in with their first one, unless they throttle that back to 99. Now,
What happens if the homeowners of Fieldstone refuse to allow them to come through there?
then they need to find either another entrance or this subdivision will be limited to 99 lots, unless you give them a variance.
So,
And there really doesn't appear to be any other entrance out unless they would go by property, but they would have to cross the railroad track, which is a hard boundary for the most part. So they have to get the Fieldstone crossing if they want, the full building.
Do we know whether or not a request to Fieldstone HOA?
I saw in an email between the engineer to the developer asking if they had been to Fieldstone yet and had a meeting. And I think
We haven't seen anything.
we haven't
How long-
seen anything, so
how
that's
long
as
ago was
far as
that?
what I know.
How long ago? Huh?
Last week.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I'm sure the residents of Fieldstone have to get together and form some sort of answer for the
Correct, and
HOA.
engineering does not, engineering, I don't think, I don't want to say it out loud, but I don't think engineering or planning has any issue with them using LaSalle. We don't have an issue with that. My issue was It needs to be looked at, it needs to be, make sure the section thickness doesn't need upgraded, to make sure the width is good. When I drove it, it certainly is a wide roadway, and it's a nice open section through there, but obviously, you start putting a lot of traffic on it, it may need another inch or so of surface course to bring the structural value up. That's where we were with it.
We need to see either Fieldstone accepting them as part of the existing HOA and becoming one HOA, or some type of documentation stating that the developers have the authority to use those roads, and we haven't seen either.
Do we know how many lots are in Fieldstone?
Like 50 maybe?
Yeah, 50 roughly, I think.
Yeah, okay.
And they're all developed out. The homes, obviously are very nice in there. They are upper market, if you will. It's a very nice subdivision. It's very clean. The lots are large. So I can see there may be some issues.
Okay.
And like I said, we're not opposed to anything here. These comments are just basically going back. I'm asking for planning commission's concurrence, if you're okay with the comments, to forward these, which will go to David Kramer, and Larry All. And, just to say that this is our review, this is our comments, concerns with the traffic study. Obviously, they issue the permit, they can completely toss that to the trash can. But, the citizens, if someone asked, we did make that.
Well, and for probably the last 2 months, I've gotten either face-to-face conversation or phone calls about this subdivision, and I'm like, well, start with, I haven't even seen it, okay? So, because it had not yet came before us, but it was out in the community.
Yes.
And they were already concerned about traffic issues on Files Crossroads and 45 itself. So I think it's, to meet the public's concerns, especially on the highway, I support this additional.
Right, and just as full disclosure, and I apologize, I didn't bring this up earlier, as full disclosure, we did have the sheriff's department take out their traffic speed collector machine. That's been out there for about a week now, I believe, and we were trying to get a hold of the data to bring that in. That does do data collection, so I can actually, what we were really looking at here was, in the traffic study, they use the posted speed as the design speed. My question, and just knowing that road, and I ride that road a lot, people haul through there.
So you say you speed through there, is that what you said?
Well, they haul. I mean, they carry the mail. And, Files Crossroad is not a good intersection for that, because it is an open kind of straightaway right there. And, people do move through there, and you need to keep your wits about you and crossing it or whatever. So we did ask them to go out there, and I did reach out to DOH for the accident criteria. I call them every day, every other day, trying to get that accident criteria. But we did make that comment in here that we wanted it in the review.
Well, I think you've done your due diligence in reviewing it, and I think that it's quite appropriate, my personal opinion, that this be forwarded to the DOH. I mean, it's important data for them to have. What they do with it, of course, is, like you said.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make it happen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to, we don't want to.
Probably.
So moved.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm not sure what are you doing a move for? Adjourn or what?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not sure we, excuse me? Yeah, I don't think we do either.
I mean, as long as everybody's
It's
okay
in the
with it, I
record that
guess.
you say send it, so that's what I'm
Well,
asking.
it's not an agenda item, so that's why I think we don't need a motion. Am I right, Mr. Counsel?
We just felt that it was fair that we come before you and ask before sending to that agency, because it says in here the county engineer is to review it and can send recommendations. We felt, Laura and I did, the county attorney, that it was best to come in here and say, this is what we would like to send. And obviously, it's someone else's right of way, it's not ours.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
All
the
right.
consensus is that we
agree.
we accept that.
Everybody agreed to it, right? Okay, thank you.
But,
All right.
but having said that, in fairness, not, to this project and the many more that's gonna be coming down the road, that may need to also happen on further projects.
We just got one
We just
today
got one
for
today.
704 lot subdivision off of
45.
Off of
Drive
45.
by Blue Ridge, and
Yeah.
we haven't heard or
We
seen
don't
a
even know where the
sketch. We don't
sketch
even know
plan
what it
is.
is.
We
It
haven't
took
even-
us 30 minutes to figure out where it was going.
But the traffic engineer sent me the traffic study today. I just got it in this morning in my chair. And I was like, I thought she knew, and neither one of us know where it is. I mean, it's in the traffic
We had to
study.
read the traffic study to
But
find
we
out where
haven't
it's
seen
at.
a sketch plan, no engineers called us, no nothing, which is kind of odd.
Well, anytime we get recommendations or suggestions from a traffic study, a school study, or what's the other places that sewer, water, we need to forward those to the agencies because they need to know what's going on.
Well, you'll see those comments for that one here in a little bit. I'll be bringing them back into you for that study.
We wait with bated breath. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, if there's nothing else, then I have a motion by Mr. Goff to adjourn. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lewis. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, the meeting is adjourned at 7:40.